Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Beacon of Light podcast this evening. Welcome to the new month of March, and we are so excited that Dr. Mary Welsh is with us here this evening. The evening and how we're going to start off is just going to really be a good conversation. I think sometimes we just need to understand the story, and so that's what we're going to start with tonight. So my name is April Tribe Juke, and I'm down here in Kyle, Texas, where I'm broadcasting. And Mary, where are you from and broadcasting from tonight?
Yeah, I'm in Warren, Michigan, just a suburb of Detroit. So it's cold up here, but the snow is melting, so spring is in the air.
That's
So
right.
I'm
Spring is in
optimistic.
the air. Very, very optimistic. Yes. And I just learned a new sign tonight for Detroit. Detroit, the letter D, and it goes down like that. Detroit.
Mhm.
Okay, Chicago, Detroit. Now I've got more signing of cities in my little repertoire versus all the spelling. So yay. I'll celebrate that. I'll definitely celebrate that. So as you're popping up here live, tell us where you guys are all from, and we'd love to be able to reach out to you. You can see we've got a few new kind of some graphics there. Throw in my lighthouse yellow and just, kind of brighten things up because it is that springtime, and who's looking forward to it? I definitely am looking forward to it, and I don't even suffer from a tough winter at all. so we're good. We just had a week of like, oh, this is what I remember when we used to live, blah blah blah. So all is well, and we got through all that storm front just fine. In case anyone's wondering out there. So Mary, share with us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to jump right on in and have just a good conversation about this evening.
Yeah. Well, first, thanks for having me here. I appreciate you having me on your show tonight. So my story really starts a few years ago, and I have a daughter named Susie, and she had been sick most of her adult life. And unfortunately, we lost her in 2017. Um, so, learning how to take all that wonderful life that she had and all that energy and excitement and everything that she embodied, and just remembering that she's still with us makes me move forward. And so when I tell my story continues daily, and my daughter is a part of that story. And so I um, I wrote several books as my way of, oh, there we go.
To get them all up here. Okay, this was first, right?
That was first. That was my adult story of my grief journey. It's how I healed. There's no right or wrong. But it gives people my story and my daughter Susie and all of our family and her friends and how we embraced her and continue to embrace her moving forward in our everyday life.
Yes, and
So
then
it's
this,
my
this
hope that somebody gets something from that.
yeah.
That's her on the cover in the background. There she is, embracing life. Um, and so you got it. She was with a great vacation, that picture. Um, so the second one is actually a journal. And I realized that I embrace life with positivity. And that journal reinforces the four aspects of positive reflection that I live by. That cup is always half full; it's never half empty. And how can we take something so traumatic, so incomprehensible to lose a child, and be able to move on? And so it's really about remembering, reflecting, recreating our new life, and then relating every day to taking care of ourselves, helping other people, and giving back in the community. And so that talked about that and gave people just an idea how to document and move on every day and think about those four things.
So in that moving on of every day, when you thought about, okay, you're getting through this loss, and now you're learning and teaching others how to do those 4 positive aspects. And when did this idea come about?
Oh, well, I'm a proud grandma. I have 5 awesome grandchildren, and they asked a lot of questions about where's Aunt Susie? How can we talk to her? Does she still know we're here? You know, so many questions, and they're all different ages. And so I started writing down my thoughts, and I created that book, and it had a great illustrator, and that's my Susie on the front. She's the angel, and she is narrating the book, and she's answering all those questions and giving children a dialogue to think about. And so, um, you know, can she hear us? Is she with us? And so there's an example of each kid has an example. And so one child is 16 and he's driving his car now. Well, I'm with you. I'm on that road and journey with you. Another one's graduating. Oh, I'm so proud. I'm your biggest cheerleader. I'll be there when you're on your career. The other one's a little younger, reading for the first time or playing a sport or, you know, playing with their dog. And so it kind of just associates, and it gives the chance for the parents to weave the story forward, is what I called it. Um, so you could take an experience and you could say, oh, you know what? Aunt Susie or grandma or, cousin Joe or whoever it is did these things with me. And so pull out the cookbook, pull out the candy canes, whatever it is, and weave that story forward. So the next time you're baking, you bring out grandma's recipe. The next time you're cooking, you're taking Aunt Susie. Oh, remember when we put all the sprinkles on the cookies, and there was such a mess, and there was powdered sugar everywhere. And so you laugh. You laugh because you remember and reflected on it. And now you're recreating that story again. And so it's not in the past, it's in today's story. So,
Yes, and I have to say, so I've shared this story with many of my readers and with you, Mary. But I have to say, in January, we lost our dog so
oh,
suddenly, so quick, and I'm turning to Hershey and gotta grab him because lately, I know I'm not signing, I apologize. Lately we were just impacted by this. So here's a little reflection of they've got 2 angels, 2 dogs up in heaven, right? And they're with Susie.
yeah.
And so my son says, we need to draw Molly, put Molly up there with her. And I said, oh, that's so cute because before my mother-in-law passed away, she had a dream about her husband who had just passed, that he was in this big meadow and he had all the dogs that they had ever owned, plus all these other dogs, and they were just romping out in the meadow. And my husband shared that story, and now every time when we go through this, he says, oh, Molly's up there with Grandpa in the meadow waiting for us. And we have her paw imprint and we hang it up and we talk about it and remember. And every time we sit down for Sunday dinner, Molly was always underneath the table, right? Waiting for something. And sometimes we'll say, I think Molly would have liked this today, and you just bring it forward as opposed to showing the pain. And Reagan, you're so right. It is a cool transformation of grief. And I know that you, Reagan, you've lost someone close to you. And I think, that's part of life. We all will. So, this is definitely special in our family. We do a lot of communicating with it. And then in the coloring aspect of it, how did this come about, Miss Mary?
So Susie had a wonderful outlook on life. She used to do cupcake sales and make the proceeds to the local shelters. And if someone had a fire or they're found themselves down and out, she would do a collection and take things to them. She had a foster friend when she was younger, and just thought it was awful that she just had a black bag with all her things in it. And she moved from house to house, and we tried to follow until we got to a house where the parent the guardians wouldn't allow it. They wouldn't allow visitors, so we lost her in the process. But Susie always remembered, we didn't have a lot when they were little, but we were happy, and we were a good strong family. And she thought that it was awful, that other people didn't have that. And she was in the hospital a lot, and we would color in the hospital. She would color with her doctors and her nurses and the transport person and the custodian and the food person and anybody that came in her room. They'd come on their off hours. They'd bring their dogs in to see her after their shifts. They just loved to talk to her because she had such a positive aspect. Well, her wall was filled with pictures. And I went back after she had passed it had been a year or two after, and one of the nurses recognized me and she said, I still have her pictures on my wall. She was such a special person, and I enjoyed that time. So we decided to create a nonprofit, and it's called Susie Q's Kids, and we give comfort bags. Just so happen to have one. I don't know why. But these bags go to kids that are in hospitals, shelters, foster care, and those that are grieving. And so they contain coloring books and crayons and Uno cards and Mattel cars and a blanket and a teddy bear of some sort to cuddle. It was so important to color because it was calming. It was something positive that you could do with other people or alone. And so I wanted to put coloring books in my bags that I give out to these children. So I made one, and it's good characteristics to follow and to model. And there's positive sayings in it. So um, there's a little kid walking grandma in, down the road or opening the door or, and there's positive sayings to it. And so, see, yours already colored in. So it's being considerate and opening the door to his grandparents.
Right.
And so that's our coloring book goes into every bag. And if it's a grief book, if it's a grief bag, then we do put the angel book in there as well. Just so that children, our mission is to brighten and inspire the life of a child. So
right. And that light and brightness just really comes forward because I think we have to remember that the grief impacts all of us so differently. I wanted to throw this comment up there from Reagan, and I love this, that she's doing this so that her kids who didn't know him can know him. Just like we've shared before, is that when you are the one to bring the story forward, then they do have something to relate to. Even if they themselves were too young to know, they then can have the stories that you bring. And so it's kind of a fun and interesting way to bring forward even more of the story, because you can choose to pick just all the good stuff and bring it forward, right? And you can weave that idea there, because we will all go through grief and it impacts us so differently. And I love it. We have to celebrate the life, because through the celebration, we remember the love, and it goes on both sides, and it ebbs and flows, and there's good days and hard days. And the more we celebrate, the more positive things start to come forward. And that way we have more opportunities to brighten up our own light inside, help others to amplify and shine out. And it just works in beautiful ways. So thank you, Reagan, for sharing that with us this evening as well. So Mary,
let me just say one thing.
yes,
Reagan,
go ahead.
that's perfect. It's a celebration of life. Every year we have a birthday celebration of life. So she can't be there, but her spirit is there. Your father, the grandfather, is there. Celebrate them. Tell those stories. Share those experiences, whatever it is, because that's true. We're weaving them forward.
That's right. That's right. We are weaving them forward, and it makes the life that they had here with us just continue forward even more. And I know, like, for me, smells and music are big memory catches for me, and I love it because there's certain times where when I smell the roses outside, that's Grandpa every time. And now that I have a Rosie of my own, because she was supposed to be born on his birthday, which is just 2 weeks after mine, but she came on my birthday. So we had to name her April Rose for that reason. And it's every time I see one, I'll always think of his little rosebud in his little lapel as we went to church. And sharing that with my kids is wonderful. I agree, Reagan. You don't want to forget his life, because his life had meaning. And I think that's the point of tonight, really. We just wanted to have this conversation, is that everyone's life has meaning. You have value. You have given something of yourself and have impacted someone, even if you don't even know that you did. We have amazing people, just like Susie here, who has a very, visual impact on many, many things. And whether yours impact feels like it's visual or not, it doesn't matter. The celebration of the life is the part that, as we carry forward, then your kids, your sons, and your daughter now can carry that forward. And Reagan, thanks so much for popping in here with us this evening. And she's a fellow Texan. She's down there in San Antonio. So it's good to see someone, woohoo, right from home, right? Yeah. So, in just having this conversation, share with me one of Susie's uh, maybe silly stories of her life that you can share that weaves something for us tonight, something kind of silly.
Yeah. So Susie, oh gosh, she was always full of life, just full of life. Um, but I always tell people to find that moment or that story that makes you smile. And so I'll tell you my favorite story that makes me just smile. I can't help but smile. And we went on a cruise and we were celebrating lots of things. My birthday, my mom's birthday, our parents' anniversary, and it was Susie's Get Well cruise. We had planned it for 2 years, and she was she still was sick, but that's okay, because for that time period, we downplayed the sickness and we did whatever we wanted, whatever she could do. And so she wanted to go jet skiing. So the family, mom and dad and a couple sisters, and we went out for the afternoon, and everybody else went and did something else. And we were out on the water, and she knew two speeds. Can you guess what it was? Full throttle. The hair's whipping, the laughter's just flying over you could just hear it. It was just a beautiful picture. And she should never have been on that jet ski, but that's okay, right? She had a blast. Uh, so that's my picture. When I think of her, when I'm having a hard day, I think, what did she do? How did she impact me? And that picture comes to mind, and I can't help but laugh. I can't help it. You know, I went to a year or two later, and I tried to recreate, and I was laughing and crying. I felt so close to her on the water. And then I guess I was going too full throttle or wasn't watching what I was doing. I don't know. I hit a wave and I did 6 somersaults. Ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom, ba boom. Yeah, I broke 6 ribs that day. She wasn't in pain when she was alive, but I was reminded afterwards. But
Wow.
that's how we weave the story forward, right? We took something from the past and we we redid it or repurposed it or however you want, and we have a new story.
That's right. That's right. You do have a new story that that is very, very true because yep, I think the pain of 6 ribs you'll remember for a long time.
Yeah.
So what is something that helps to uh, when you see others that are grieving, what is something that you say to them?
Say their name, say it loud, say it proud. People are afraid to say anything about a loved one because they're afraid you're going to get sad and you're going to cry and they don't know how to handle it. Or they think that maybe it's been too long and you should move on. I will cry or be sad every day of my life because I miss my little girl. Plain and simple. Does it get easier? Yes and no. You resign to the fact that they're not there, but you think about them every day. I was driving to a therapy appointment um, the other day. I turned out of the driveway and hit the sun, and it was so bright. I pulled over. I had to wait for my eyes to acclimate. I drove 2 blocks to the therapy. I opened the door, and on the ground and outside my driver's door is a bright, shiny penny. And I said, "Good morning, sunshine." She was just
Okay.
saying hello. That's you can look for signs. It's however you want to interpret them. That's what it is. And that night I was driving home, and the moon was bright, full moon. Her sister, she was the sun. Her sister was the moon. So I called her sister and said, "Hey, Moonchild, how you doing?" Right? So you associate different things.
Yeah.
So I would tell people never be afraid to talk. You'll notice if somebody really is uncomfortable, well, then you stop. But most times they'll still laugh and tell you a story. They will, you know. And Lori certainly is pennies from heaven, absolutely. And if you get a penny and a dime, oh, that means that someone's really thinking about you because not too often they come together.
Yeah,
So
that's so true.
and
I
just to take a moment, just take your moments. If you need a moment, just tell your family, hey, if you see me, walk in the garden and sit down for a minute. Just, I'm okay. If I need you, I'll come and get you. But I might just need that moment, right?
right, right, and it is true. Yeah, and Reagan, that's why I threw your comment up here because it is true. Sometimes we just we're afraid it's going to hurt too much, and I have to say, my own husband is like and I'm like, nope, I'm bringing him in as much as I know, and sometimes I'll just kind of make up a story, and he'll be listening. He'll say, that didn't happen. I'm like, well, then you tell him what happened. And that's kind of how he starts opening up. So it's good because that kind of started the conversation that I shared with the story earlier about my mother-in-law having that dream about her husband walking with all the dogs in the meadows up in heaven. And if I wouldn't have, messed up the story, I don't think he would have joined and corrected because now they cuddle up to him and say, "Tell me the story about Grandpa." Ah, yeah, you see what I did
There
there?
you go. There
Yeah.
you go. You got to weave
So,
it in there however
gotta
you
leave
can
it
get
in.
it in there, right?
Right. So the pain is going to be there. And so I guess I look at it as you can have the pain all alone, or you can have some of the pain and share because um, laughter through tears is some of the best emotions, right? Because you started that way and then you connect to something and usually end better than where you started. And that's a little more through the journey of this grief process. So Thank you, Reagan, and thank you, Lori, for you sharing that part. So, Mary, as we're getting ready to kind of close up this evening, what's something that you would like to leave with our listeners tonight?
Well, next month, April, I'm going to be speaking with you at your conference, and we're going to be talking about, childhood abuse and awareness and how to heal. And you've got a just a jam-packed set of authors that are going to be speaking and telling their story and how they make an impact. It's all about learning from the stories that other people have and how we all have similarities in our life. We all have different things that impact us, and how we can kind of overcome them is through sometimes reading, or some people don't like to talk, but they might read a book, or they might listen, but they just don't entertain the conversation, right? And so we're going to be talking about this subject, and I just would really like to thank you for one, having me here tonight, having me back in April to be a speaker during this conference, and that you and all of the participants are generously donating their registration fees to Susie Q's Kids. And we're going to take that registration money, and we are going to put bags in the shelters for those children that have been impacted by, this, homelessness and domestic violence and child abuse, that they may find themselves in those situations. So I am just profoundly um, thankful that I have an avenue that I can talk, share my message, and hopefully give somebody else um, a glimmer of hope, that brightness is there. There's always dark days, but that brightness is there. And Lori, it is one comfort bag at a time. That's what we strive for. That's our motto. And so we're going to make an impact. So thank you very much. And anybody would like to talk further with me, please reach out. I'm welcome to conversations.
That's right. And Mary, where can we find you? And hang on, I got to do my Vanna practice here. Vanna White. I'm not so great. Yeah. Where can we find all of these?
Yes. So drmarywelsh.com. You've got it on the trailer on the bottom there. And you can also look up Susie Q's Kids. It's SUSIEQSKIDS.org. And that's my two websites that you can reach me on.
Right. And everyone join them, look at her things, look at the website, take a look at what you can do. And Reagan, I highly recommend a book like this, especially to share the stories with your kids. And who knows, maybe your voice will carry that your husband might be the one to start listening to the conversation. I can show you some other tricks how to get him involved, just saying. Just saying. And it helps because you want that opportunity to remember a life that was meaningful to you. And the pain shows us how much we loved, and the loss, it hurts. It doesn't erase it or magically make it go away, but wow, to remember the positive things of life and that celebration sure makes it a lot lighter in your life. So that's one thing I've learned for sure.
So show the Susie Q angel book for me. You see that cute little scarf on her head? So last week, my granddaughter sent me a text message, and she was 7 years old, and she's like so excited to make muffins from scratch with her mom. And she sent me the picture. Well, I immediately went in my room and got my scarf, which is Susie's scarf, and I put it on, and I took my picture and I sent it back to her. And I said, "We're twins." She had on Susie's scarf because a duplicate because it reminded her of Susie, and she was learning how to cook, and Susie always did that with her. And so when she texted me back and said, I was thinking of Susie, so I wanted to put on my scarf. And it just made me feel good that Grandma put on her scarf too.
And that's
So
it. You've just
that's
woven
it.
the story
The
forward.
story went forward, right?
Yep.
I didn't have to
Exactly.
tell her to do that. It's just, it weaves forward.
It does. It does. So everyone tonight, weave those stories. Remember that life is worth celebrating. Remember those positive aspects of reflection. Come and join the conference next month. And we'll see y'all later. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.